I want to say, first off, thank you all so much for spending your time with me this afternoon, and a super thanks to the European E-commerce Conference for having me. I'm probably going to be a bit redundant with this frame, but before I was a digital strategist and a social weaver, I went by the name of Fuze the MC. And as Fuze the MC, I was a hip-hop artist, and still am, and a performer and touring artist. So first, I want to give you guys a quick glimpse. I mean, you got one in the last slide, but into that life. Here you go.
You were safe within my wings. So I'll ask you this before you leave. When the love's all gone and the fortune leaves you, then who will you turn to?
I just broke an angel's heart. As a man I shouldn't care. Still I am just so inclined. I guess there's something about her stare. Yeah, her stare. That's why I fell for her. Lost in another other world like Cora. Lines can't describe how time flies and heals all. In the Jetta with the devil, I peel off. Ambition in the back seat, leisure was killed off. Stuffed in the trunk, the body was still raw. Road to redemption, rendezvous with death. I could've made it right, but instead I left. The devil want my soul, so I watch where I step. God stopped sending me the directions. I wept, I guess. I hate the club like dead seals. Would you rather be live, fake, or dead real? The industry is screaming, get bills. It feels like Pinocchio screaming out,
you were safe
get
within
real.
my wings. So I'll ask you this before you leave. When the love's all gone and the fortune leaves you, then who will you turn to?
So I showed this video for a couple reasons. One, I kind of like that song, and I wanted to share it with you all. But the second reason is this was my introduction into social weaving and how I stumbled upon it. I was a hip-hop artist, and I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anyone in the music industry. I had no family members who had performed or played publicly, but I really wanted to share my art and my talent with the world. And what I did have was a laptop. And that's what led me to the discovery of what I now call social weaving. So what is social weaving? Social weaving is the process of using digital strategies and partnerships to exploit and weave together real-world networks for any specific purpose. For me specifically, that purpose was getting my music out there and developing fans and turning them into customers and purveyors of my music. So before I go any further, I'm going to be sharing some strategies today that at times may be on the borderline between terms of service for certain networks. So I just want to say, please use this at your discretion and understand that these are more frameworks to look at how you do digital strategy and how you approach your campaigns for whatever it is your target goals are. And it applies outside of music as well. So my first social weaving experience, I had the wonderful opportunity to attend a college and university called Howard University in Washington, D.C. And Howard is unique for a couple of reasons. It's a HBCU, meaning that it's a historically black college and university in Washington, D.C., but they also have something that's, I think, very unique to it, called Freshman Week. And in Freshman Week, they bring all the freshmen from the school, about 1,500 to 2,000 people, depending on the year, and they come to the school for a week early before classes start. There's no one there except for them and a group of people called the Campus Pals. And these Campus Pals, they set up events every single day of the week. And I say events, which is just an affectionate way of saying parties. Every single day for an entire week before school starts, they throw parties. And this is an interesting phenomenon because there's no other outside influences on the campus. It's a private, closed campus. The sophomores, the juniors, the seniors, no one else is there. So I saw this as a prime opportunity to try to get my music in there. So I reached out to the campus pals and I said, hey, I make great music. Please share my music with all the people in your weekly newsletter. And they not only said no, but I think they blocked my email account. So I figured that wasn't going to work out very well. My next thought was, okay, what do I have? How can I reach these people? And I set up a Facebook group called Accepted and Committed Students of the Class of 2013. And this was kind of peculiar because online there wasn't a lot of ways to tell if someone was going to be going to the school because the students hadn't got there yet. This is about, I want to say a month or a month and a half before any students had got there. But what I did was I scraped off all of the users who were within a certain age bracket and a certain age range and a certain demographic that was most likely to be going to Howard. And I tracked them over the next month, and as they changed their schools to Howard University, specifically for the class of 2013, I, through Facebook, sent them a little invite. And the invite invited them to this network. Now, I, like a lot of the other students, was very curious about what's going to happen on campus, who's going to be there, how will I make friends, what's the lunch situation like, what are these parties going to be like. So eventually, everyone flooded into these groups. And I made what was called an introduction video talking about myself and my music and my passions, and I encouraged other people to do the same. So I did the first introduction video, and then a couple of my friends did it, and then it was 20 people, then 30 people, then 40 people, until it ballooned to 1,200 people, which doesn't sound like quite a lot, but it is when you consider the fact that there's only about 1,400 or 1,500 students in the entire freshman class. So I had an immense and very, very deep saturation of a very closed-knit area of people. The results, 90% open rate of the Facebook messages that were sent through the group, which not only sent them a message within the platform, but at the time also sent them an email. If they had text notifications, sent them a text, and even a push notification. And I was sending daily messages. But there was high incentive for people not to leave the group, even if I was sending them my music on a regular basis, because it was the only connection to people who were within the network. That resulted in me being featured in the school newspaper, which then allowed me to be picked up by larger networks like MTV, BET, XXL, which are very big hip-hop media conglomerates in the States. But something happened. It worked out very, very well. People were highly engaged to the point where I could even monetize it and do party promotion. But the problem was Facebook suddenly changed their algorithm. They no longer allowed people to send direct messages from the Facebook groups. They stopped sending automatic push notifications for everyone who was subscribed to a group. And also the timing and the relevancy of it kind of dissipated. It was super, super valuable before people got to campus because no one knew anybody. But after people got to the campus, it was a lot easier for you to just walk across the street or the hall in your dorm and ask, what's going on? So as this happened, it started to fall off. And I realized something very early on from this experiment. A couple things. One, you don't actually need lots and lots of people to accomplish things. You just need very, very tightly dense networks of a specific type of people. And if you have that deep interwoven connectivity between the people who are in that network, things can not only spread very fast within that network, but also very fast outside of it, which is how I ended up with my first show in Los Angeles, California. So my next attempt, which is what I'm going to go into a little more detail today, is a method called Twitter churning. Some of you here may be familiar with it, so hopefully if you are, I'll be able to give you a little more insight into what I know works on it, and those who are not, maybe I'll introduce you into something new that you can incorporate with your media strategies. So Twitter churning consists of a few steps. It's first, you need to obtain social authority, identify your niche, scrape the users who you're going to be trying to access, engage with those users, and then wash out all of the ones who are not relevant or important to your specific networks. A lot of people forget that last step, and it's actually extremely important. Because if you have people who are creating noise and creating energy within your networks that doesn't actually help you with whatever your goal or your activation is, it can muddle the connections between the people who actually are relevant. So on Twitter specifically, and again, these apply to pretty much all online networks, but I'm going to be talking about Twitter specifically at this point. The first thing is social authority. You can attain this in a couple of ways. The easiest and the most direct way is through verification. Those little blue check marks that are on Twitter, if you can obtain one of those, you have instant social credibility. And what that credibility does is anytime you interact with someone within the network, they automatically have a bouquet of interest in what you have to say, or at very least, who you are. This person who's verified just messaged me. I have to find out more about them. Maybe I need to check their profile, click their link, scroll through a couple of their tweets. The second thing is account referrals. Having other people who are popular and important in your niche talk about your account. And the third, which is a bit controversial, someone might say, is purchasing followers. So a lot of people ask me all the time, why do people purchase followers on social networks that don't actually do anything? And for those of you who don't know, when you purchase these followers, for the most part, they are robots. They're just little accounts that don't actually do anything. At best, they might interact with a tweet every now and then, but there's not a real person behind them. No one's going to actually click on your stuff. No one's going to buy anything from you. But the purpose they actually serve is for that credibility. If someone who has, let's say, 100 followers messages you on the network, you might not even look twice. But if someone with, let's say, 1 million followers messages you, they instantly have credibility and they instantly have the understanding that, okay, maybe this person at least is worth the next 30 seconds of my time. And if you have any doubts of how widespread this is, I've included a small graph. I think this is from 2012 of some of the largest accounts on Twitter. The section in the red is the percentage of their followers that are actually completely artificial and fake. The green is their real followers, and the yellow is inactive, people who actually don't engage on the platform as much. If you can't see it from there, Justin Bieber at this time had 15 million fake followers, which is a pretty astounding number when you consider the fact that he has 37 million real ones. And that's not to take away from the real followers he does have, but that extra 15 million, no doubt, gave him the credibility of someone who had that many followers before he actually achieved that kind of success. The next part is identifying the niche. This is pretty easy if you understand your market very well and understand what the marketplace you're in. Analytics.twitter.com have done a really great job about breaking it down for you. This is actually specifically from my personal Twitter account. If you can notice, 90% of the people who follow me are into music. And again, I really wanted to stress the specificity of the niche is extremely important. If there's tons of people who are out there and they follow you, but they're not interested in the same things, they cannot build any sense of community. They can't talk to each other about the different things they're interested in, and the weave kind of falls apart. Once you have your niche, you'll have to scrape the users. There's a variety of platforms out there who can do this for you, but I specifically had a custom one done for myself. And it can do things like scrape certain articles, scrape certain profiles of people who are also in your niche, scrape anything pretty much online to develop a database of target users to engage with. And these target users will be your staple for how you reach out to your next markets. The next part is engaging with them through automation. To varying degrees, this is the particular area where you have to be careful. And that long terms of service that you read before you go into your social network, you should actually read those if you plan on doing this, because there are certain limits to the amount of automation you can use within it. But very specifically, you really want to have people and engagements that feel natural, that are relevant. Again, it goes back to your niche that you have. as long as it's around the things you're going to be talking about and the kinds of message you're going to be spread, you shouldn't have a problem reaching out to lots and lots of those people at a very high rate. Some of the specific parameters that I've included on mine, where I don't want to follow people that I've already followed before. I don't want to reach out to individuals who don't have a picture. I can set parameters like only people who have this amount of social influence, but don't follow this amount of people. I can set a max limit for how many people I want to do in a day so it doesn't feel too artificial. And all of these gestures serve as digital handshakes. You're reaching out to people on a methodical basis of saying, hey, I think you have a shared interest with me, you have a shared passion with me. Please accept this token of my appreciation for that shared thought, which comes in the form of a favorite, a like, or a follow. So the things that came out of this were particular for a couple of reasons. The first being the number of people who engaged with me over the last couple of years since I've been doing this experiment is about 550,000 people. And out of those 550,000 people, as you saw before, 90% of them are in the same niche. And the way that these people were acquired, they reached back out after I offered that handshake and gave a token of their appreciation for that same niche. And by doing that, it creates a very, very dense network, because I know not only are these people already in the niches for that I scraped out, I know they're also voluntarily reaching out to join into me, and it feels more passive. You have a sense of discovery from the other person. In juxtaposition, if you have, let's say, a display ad that you're promoting something, it feels very harsh. It feels very forced. I'm like, hey, look at this, click this, buy this, please click through this. And by doing that, it alienates a lot of the people, especially the most valuable people who are the influencers within that niche. So by taking a social weaving approach, it's more setting up a bait that is deep within the things that someone will already love, and will also be something that they can share with other people who are within those same networks. I get over like 1 million impressions monthly. One interesting stat, only 2 degrees of separation from the majority of the entire Twitter network that's out there currently, and it allowed me to be featured in a number of magazines and TV shows and all kinds of things to talk about the growth of these networks. So I say all that to say that whatever it is your market is, whatever it is your product, your mission statement is, there are already thousands and millions of people out there who want to not only talk to you about it, but they want to talk to all the other people who are in those same networks. And the phenomenon within specifically Twitter and at times Facebook is that these people will find ways to talk to the other people if they're just given an opportunity. So instead of force-feeding your digital marketing strategy down those people's throats, it's best to just set up a platform for them to meet and discuss and convene on those same thoughts. So yeah, in closing, the 3 big things to take away: build tight networks, not really big ones. That's way far, far, far more important. You really want to look for the holes in the networks that are currently being used so you can automate your processes in your handshakes. If you can't, you'll probably have to pay for them or do them manually, which can be arduous at times. And the third, which I didn't get to go too deeply into today, but I really wanted to talk about, was own your audience. As I mentioned before, on the Facebook example, the weave became unraveled because I didn't own that audience. Facebook got to determine how it is that I spoke with the people who were there. So even in the case of my Twitter, it's very important to note that once you've developed this audience and you've developed this network of people who are tightly knit and spinning on each other with ideas and thoughts, it's very, very important to take those ideas and move them to somewhere else where you can own them, be it a social network that you've created yourself, or a simple website, or even something as small as an email list or a phone book list. Because when all of the networks change or they go down or they modify the ways in which the people communicate, it can drastically affect what it is that you have to offer on it. Thank you for your time.
Tenemos tiempo para una sola pregunta, porque vamos un poquito retrasados, si hubiera alguna. No?
No.
Thank you, Lance.
Okay. Thank you very much.
To redemption, rendezvous with death. I could have made it right, but instead I left. The devil want my soul, so I watch where I step. God stopped sending me the directions. I wept, I guess. I hate the club like dead seals. Would you rather be live, fake, or dead real? The industry is screaming, get bills. It feels like Pinocchio screaming out,
You were safe
get
within
real.
my wings. So I'll ask you this before you leave. When the love's all gone and the fortune leaves you, then who will you turn to?
I want to say, first off, thank you all so much for spending your time with me this afternoon, and a super thanks to the European E-commerce Conference for having me. I'm probably going to be a bit redundant with this frame, but before I was a digital strategist and a social weaver, I went by the name of Fuze the MC. And as Fuze the MC, I was a hip-hop artist, and still am, and a performer and touring artist. So first, I want to give you guys a quick glimpse. I mean, you got one in the last slide, but into that life. Here you go.
He
You were
believed in more
safe
than I did.
within my wings. So I'll ask you this before you leave. When the love's all gone and the fortune leaves you, then who will you turn to?
I just broke an angel's heart. As a man, I shouldn't care. Still, I am just so inclined. I guess there's something about her stare. Yeah, her stare. That's why I fell for her. Lost in another world like Cora. Lines can't describe how time flies and heals all. In the Jetta with the devil, I peel off. Ambition in the back seat, leisure was killed off. Stuffed in the trunk, the body was still raw.
So I showed this video for a couple reasons. One, I kind of like that song, and I wanted to share it with you all. But the second reason is this was my introduction into social weaving and how I stumbled upon it. I was a hip-hop artist, and I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anyone in the music industry. I had no family members who had performed or played publicly, but I really wanted to share my art and my talent with the world. And what I did have was a laptop. And that's what led me to the discovery of what I now call social weaving. So what is social weaving? Social weaving is the process of using digital strategies and partnerships to exploit and weave together real-world networks for any specific purpose. For me specifically, that purpose was getting my music out there and developing fans and turning them into customers and purveyors of my music. So before I go any further, I'm going to be sharing some strategies today that at times may be on the borderline between terms of service for certain networks. So I just want to say, please use this at your discretion and understand that these are more frameworks to look at how you do digital strategy and how you approach your campaigns for whatever it is your target goals are. And it applies outside of music as well. So my first